Hey guys, subscribe for daily knife content, and if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kansept Goblin front flipper. This is really compelling. Especially when considering the price. I was pretty intrigued by this, absolutely. This was sent directly by Kansept. Thank you very much for sending this along. You can find this guy right down in the description. I will link it and all the variants that it comes in. And I'll also link Kansept knives in general, so you guys can take a look at what they've got going on right now. Thanks to my generous patrons for supporting me right now. If you'd like to check out my Patreon, I've got a link for that right down in the description. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this guy. This is not a big knife, not at all. Overall length of the Kansept Goblin coming in at 5.6 inches. Not a big knife. Blade length is coming in at about 2.3 maybe. Cutting edge is coming in at 2 inches. So this is going to solve a lot of legal problems for a lot of people, and that's nice. There's not enough knives out there that are catering to people who, are dealing with draconic knife laws. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and Model 2. You can see here it's definitely smaller than both. Actually, even the Rat 2 making it look itty-bitty. It's nice and wide, though, so it's got a little bit of extra muscle for how small it is. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and its little brother, the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. You can see here, again, even the Mini Griptilian making this guy look teeny tiny. And last but not least, let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3. And once again, very tiny compared to both, even the Para 3, absolutely. So, not a big knife. I think we've thoroughly established that. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check on this guy, get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive, very recommendable. You can find them right down in the description of the video you're watching right now. The pivot is going to be a T8, and the body screws, I think, are not, yeah, they're going to be T6. But there's not a lot of hardware on this guy. Literally, just the pivot, the pocket clip screws, and one screw. There must be something else holding that pocket clip in place. Maybe it's lipped or set into the frame, not really sure. Minimal hardware. Just be careful when you're taking it apart. Don't strip out the T6 screws. Thickness or carry profile. So up against the Para 3, you can see here it actually is just a little bit thinner than the Para 3, which is nice. Considering it's a small knife, take advantage of that. Don't go overly thick on the scales, right? Length and height. Up against the PM2 and Para 3, you can see here, yeah, this isn't going to be a difficult object to carry. Shorter in terms of length and in terms of height than both the PM2 and Para 3. Taking a look at the inside of this, we do have titanium scales that have been milled out a little bit. So that's nice. They probably didn't need to do that, but they did, and that's going to be a benefit for a lot of people wanting to carry a knife like this and not wanting to have any unnecessary weight anchoring it down. Blade stock thickness is 117 thousandths or so. Not crazy thick. It's probably could have been a little bit thinner on this guy, but it's fine. Nothing to worry about there. And weight, I'm gonna guess this weighs 2.75. Oh, less than that. 2.3 ounces, which is fine. That falls into the category on this channel, in my opinion. It falls into the ultra lightweight category. Anything under 3 ounces is not something that registers in my brain while I'm carrying it. So, in conclusion, it really doesn't matter what you're wearing. As long as you're wearing pants, it's probably going to be pretty easy for you to carry. But, take that information, do whatever you're going to do with it. Alright, so this version, there's a few different versions of this knife, but on this version we have black hardware, and we've got sort of looks like a bead-blasted titanium frame. I think it looks good. It kind of looks like the little... What's that new truck? Like the new... Is it a Tesla truck? Or the Cybertruck? Yeah, that's what it kind of looks like, the Cybertruck. And actually, I know that there actually is a knife. I think it was made by Kaiser. Not Kansept. Kaiser. that was meant to look exactly like the Cybertruck. This kind of also looks like that to me. It is easy to front flip. Because it is so small, you have to make sure your hands are in exactly the right place. But once you figure it out, it's going to be pretty easy. Action's good. D10's good. Nice, large opening hole for people who just want to pinch it open and wheel it out. You can, I think if you get it in exactly the right place, you can thumb flick it out, but it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. Reverse flicking it, though, yeah, actually, it's pretty easy to do. That's probably how I'd open it most of the time, if not just like this, pinching it with both fingers and doing this, right, or front flipping it. It's kind of fidgety, right? Corner's a little bit sharp up here, so if you miss a little bit, it's going to wear your thumb out. You can kind of see it's starting to dent my thumb in a little bit. But considering it's such a small package, yeah, it is pretty easy to manipulate. They took a lot of things into consideration, a lot of, where your hands are naturally going to fall. It is an exposed frame lock, though, and not a super wide frame. So you got to make sure your fingers are off the lock bar. Fortunately, the pocket clip is very large. You're more likely to come in contact with the pocket clip than anything else. The blade has that really nice tumbling that Kansept does. This is probably my favorite finish that they do. Sort of light grain structure, tumbling with a nice polish underneath that. It really looks good. Unfortunately, because this is a Kansept, we get to see K2016A1, which doesn't need to be there, and then S35VN. The logo itself doesn't bother me, but I'd like to start seeing it not right in the middle of the blade. That's actually kind of starting to bug me a little bit. I see a lot of other companies finding areas down here. You'd have to make it a lot smaller on this knife, right? There's not a whole lot of room, but yeah, if you can make that number that small, you could make the logo that small. I already know what it is because I hypothetically would have purchased it, right? On this side, I don't mind the maker's logo, but then they also feel like they have to put his name on there in just this silly, like, basic font, Marshall Noble. Just, the maker's logo is fine. We don't need this, and we don't need the name of the knife, Goblin. I don't need that. I know what it is, right? Because I would have purchased it, But that's fine. It doesn't actually take away from, there's no functional element that's being reduced by the position or the information on the blade. This area in here is nicely knocked down. No sharpness inside there, so you're not going to be shredding your fingernails. Nicely knocked down up here. We have a nice sort of sheep's foot style blade, and honestly, I've come to really appreciate these types of blades. I like being able to get my finger right up here behind the nose and really do a controlled draw cut, which I think is the type of stuff that a lot of people do with knives like this. I also appreciate that, this isn't a knife that I can get a full four-finger grip on, no matter what. My pinky's sliding off this ramp back here. Personal thing, I'm not going to carry a knife unless I can get a full grip on it. That's just me, right? Most people aren't going to care about that. You probably shouldn't either. But choking up right here, if they could, a lot of companies just leave this area flat. They carved it out just a little bit to be a little bit more comfortable for the human index finger. And yeah, I appreciate that. That really does feel nice. Also like that they carved these areas out down here to make it easier to access that frame lock, right? And the area where the blade does drop to your finger is great. There's no double clutch or anything like that. It doesn't feel awkward to disengage and then deploy. Fidgeting with this guy is pretty straightforward. It's not going to tire you out too bad. It feels good. Everything feels like it's in the right place, so I appreciate that. There's no lanyard hole, which is great because we don't really need them anymore. There's not many people attaching lanyards to knives, and I know that I always get one comment, something like, "Oh, I like lanyards." Well, this knife doesn't have a lanyard hole. I'm sorry. The pocket clip looks ridiculous. I don't like the pocket clip on this knife. It just is such a departure from the rest of it. I just don't understand. Like, was there like a wheel with a bunch of slots and they just spun it and it click, 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 and it landed on this? It's weird. It's fine. It functions, right? It has that ramp. It doesn't carry super shallow or anything like that. It's fine. It just looks weird. I don't know. I'm not into the clip. I'm failing to come up with a clip off the top of my head that would have looked better with this. Just not this. This is weird. It also is too big. On a knife that's this small, I don't think we need a pocket clip that's longer than about right here, right? I mean, a super popular pocket clip right now is the pocket clip that comes on the Benchmade Bug Out. I've actually got one on my Mini Crooked River. Yeah, that works just fine. The clip is way shorter. Would have been, this type of clip would have been much better. I don't understand the weird fan I mean, like the slots kind of. I don't know. Some people might like the clip is functional. It just is so big and weird looking, right? You look at the knife from this angle and you're like, oh wow, you know, it's kind of a nice little. It's got this continuous aesthetic going on, right? Some people might like it, some people might not. And then you flip it over and you're like, what the heck? Weird clip, right? Okay. It does have a backspacer again, kind of like what was going on with the Copperhead. It's got that weird like black coating on it, which, it's probably more like paint. It's probably gonna wear away, right? It's definitely titanium though. The clip and the backspacer are definitely, feels like titanium, or possibly, I guess it could be aluminum, right? The coating on it just, I think, looks cheap, but you know, eye of the beholder thing, right? It does have a steel lock bar insert that doubles as the over travel stop, so that's great. The knife is locking up at something like, what is that, 25%, maybe 30%, right? The stop pin on this guy is internal. It follows the blade, so that's nice. And it's running on bearings, if I didn't mention that earlier. The blade is perfectly centered, and there is no blade play up, down, left, or right, which is what I'd expect. So nitpicks. It's a 3-finger position knife. Some people really don't like that. Some people don't care, right? We don't need all this extra. We don't need the codes. We don't need to put the name of the knife on there, right? There's kind of some unnecessary stuff on the blade. Top of that flipper tab is a little bit pokey. It might start to wear on you after a while, but if you'll adapt to it, right? The black coating on the pocket clip and the backspacer look pretty cheap. I'm not a huge fan of that. The pocket clip aesthetics on their own are, they're gross. I don't like it. Maybe that's a personal preference thing because the clip is still plenty functional. I just don't like how it looks. It looks out of place on this knife. Let's see here. What was the other thing? Was there something else that I was going to complain about? I don't think so. Other than that, though, I think we're all right. The best thing about this knife is that it comes in at $138 for titanium and S35VN. I would like to see Kansept play around with S45VN, but honestly, the build quality on this thing is good. It's a nice little, small, fidgety knife that's going to solve some legal issues for some people, right? S35VN in titanium for $138. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. In fact, I don't have a problem at all with that price. I think that's a great price. That'll do it for me. All the more reason why, you know, when I reviewed the Copperhead, I was like, what the heck? They had carbon fiber and steel and S35VN, and it was just bigger, and they wanted $218 for it. No. But titanium and S35VN, even in this size does not dictate the price of the knife, ever, unless you're talking about a gigantic, like a, you know, humorously oversized knife, right? But no, that generally has nothing to do with the price of the size of it. Yeah, this was a shorter review and an easy review. $138 for the Kansept Goblin. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. It's too bad about the clip. But really, that's my biggest gripe, right? I mean, everything else is just, it's minor. Like, everything else that I'm saying is pretty minor. So, yeah, I can recommend this knife. This is a cool one. I think a lot of people will like it. Like I said, you can check this out in the description. I'll link this guy and all the different variants of it, and I'll link Kansept knives in general as well. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. I think that's going to be pretty much it today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.